My life now is a stark contrast to the chaotic childhood I endured, shaped by a family torn apart by betrayal and conflict. Hi, my name is Ashley, and I am a 30-year-old mother of two. It's a sunny, peaceful afternoon, the kind that makes you appreciate the quiet moments until the phone rings, shattering the calm with its shrill tone. I answer, expecting perhaps a friendly chat or a mundane reminder from a local service. Instead, I'm greeted by a voice dripping with accusation, a voice that belongs to my sister, Sarah. "Ashley, how could you not show up at Mom's funeral?" she snaps, her words slicing through the tranquility of my day. "Sarah, what are you talking about?" "Mom's funeral was 3 years ago, and we both were there," I respond, confusion knitting my brows together. The conversation quickly spirals into an argument, reopening wounds that had never fully healed. Sarah's anger and resentment pour through the line, accusing and blaming as if time had stood still since our mother's actual funeral. The call ends with a click, leaving behind a silence that now feels heavier, charged with the echoes of our fractured past. As I stand there, phone still in hand, the weight of our shared history presses down on me. It's clear that while I have worked hard to build a nurturing home for my own children, the shadows of the past are never fully behind us. They linger, ready to emerge at the slightest provocation, reminding me of the journey I've taken from a child caught in family strife to a woman determined to forge a different path. The sharpness of Sarah's accusations lingers in the air, prompting me to retreat into the solitude of my study, a room filled with the soft glow of afternoon light and shelves lined with books that have offered me escape and knowledge through the years. Here, I find myself drawn into memories, the kind that you bury deep down, hoping they'll turn to dust, yet they persist, vivid as ever. As a child, I watched my family unravel from the seams of secrecy and betrayal. It began the day I found a letter, one not meant for my eyes, that revealed my mother's affair. Innocently, I questioned her about it, unaware of the avalanche it would trigger. My father, a man of quiet strength and immense kindness, was shattered by the revelation. The following months were a blur of shouting, tears, and an eventual separation that split our family down the middle. In the divorce, allegiances were drawn sharply. My sister, Sarah, sided with our mother, mirroring her fiery spirit and, perhaps unconsciously, her self-centeredness. I remained with our father, who despite his heartbreak, tried to shield me from the bitterness that consumed our home. His marriage to Elaine, his secretary who later became my beloved stepmother, was a balm to our wounded family. Elaine was everything my biological mother was not, warm, attentive, and utterly devoted to our well-being. Elaine's presence in our lives brought a sense of stability and affection that was sorely missing before. She taught me about resilience, about the kind of love that isn't loud or flashy, but steady and unconditional. Under her care, I learned to mend the patches of my heart that had been torn by maternal neglect. But as I grew older, the divide between Sarah and me widened, fueled by our mother's sporadic and self-serving appearances. Each visit left a bitter taste, a reminder of the emotional abandonment that had defined much of my earlier years. Sarah, however, soaked up our mother's rare affections, always desperate for more, always blaming me for the family's ills, as if I had been the architect of our mother's failings. Sitting now in my study, surrounded by the tranquility of my chosen sanctuary, I can't help but feel both distant from and painfully close to these memories. They are reminders of where I've come from and the lessons I've carried with me, lessons about the kinds of relationships I want to cultivate and the kind of mother I aspire to be. Unlike the volatile and conditional love I received, I am determined to give my children a foundation built on unconditional support and understanding. It's a commitment forged in the fires of a childhood marked by loss, but defined by the survival and strength found in its ashes. The morning after my unsettling conversation with Sarah, a sharp knock at the door jolted me from my thoughts. It was the family lawyer, looking solemn, bearing news that would shift the very ground beneath me. My father had passed away suddenly, a heart attack that no one saw coming. The grief was immediate and profound, a wave that knocked the breath from my lungs. He had been my pillar, my safe harbor from the stormy relations that plagued our family. As we navigated through the initial shock and funeral arrangements, another reality set in: the matter of his estate. My father had been a careful planner, and his will was meticulous. To my astonishment, he had left me an inheritance of $20 million. It was a staggering sum, reflective not just of his success in business, but of his immense trust and belief in me. The revelation of the will acted like a beacon, drawing my estranged mother and sister out of the woodwork. Their sudden interest in rekindling family ties was transparently tied to the numbers printed on the estate documents. My mother, ever the strategist, masked her greed with feigned grief, while Sarah's approach was more direct and abrasive. As the executor began to outline the details, the tension in the room was palpable. Accusations flew, old resentments surfaced, and the air filled with the cold, hard sound of legal jargon. My mother and Sarah contested the will, arguing that it was unfair and that they were entitled to a portion of the estate. Sitting there, amidst the flurry of legal threats and bitter disputes, a profound weariness settled over me. It wasn't just the grief for my father that weighed on me, but a deep exhaustion with the endless cycle of conflict. In a moment of clarity, I realized that no amount of money was worth this turmoil. I remembered my father's lessons about what truly mattered in life: integrity, peace, and love. These were not principles to be bartered with. With a steady voice that surprised even me, I made a decision. "I don't want the money," I said, my words cutting through the noise like a knife. "You both seem to need it more than I do, and if this money will bring you peace, then it's yours." The room fell silent, shocked by my renunciation. My lawyer tried to interject, but I was resolute. This was not a defeat, but a choice to uphold the values my father had instilled in me. I walked away from that meeting with nothing but a few personal mementos: his watch, some old photographs, and a lifetime of memories. These were my inheritance, far more precious than any financial legacy. In relinquishing the estate, I had not just freed myself from a potential legal quagmire, but had also taken a definitive step towards healing, choosing a path marked by the principles I valued most. In the quiet that followed my decision, there was a palpable sense of liberation. I had walked away from $20 million, but in doing so, I had reclaimed something invaluable: my peace of mind. The days immediately after were a blur, a mixture of relief and the sharp pang of loss as I mourned my father without the shadow of greed looming over me. As the reality of my choice settled in, I found solace in my family, my husband and children, who wrapped me in their unconditional love and support. We spent evenings talking, not about inheritances or conflicts, but about memories of my father, his laughter, his quirks, and the profound lessons he had imparted through his actions more than his words. During this period of quiet reflection, I received a letter from Elaine, my stepmother, who had been surprisingly quiet during the inheritance saga. In her elegant script, she expressed her pride in my decision, affirming that I had truly been my father's daughter in both spirit and strength. She invited me to visit her, suggesting that there was something important she wanted to discuss in person. Arriving at her home a few days later, I was greeted with the familiar warmth and kindness that had characterized her presence in my life. As Elaine's health deteriorated, she beckoned me to her side with an urgency that I had never heard from her before. Sitting by her bedside, in the room that had always felt like a sanctuary, she took my hand gently, her touch frail, but her eyes filled with the steady warmth I had always known. "Ashley, I've made a decision," she began, her voice a soft whisper, yet clear. "In my will, I've left you the house. Not just as a place to live, but as a place where you can continue to build the kind of family legacy you deserve, one filled with love and warmth, not bitterness and regret." I was taken aback, not just by the magnitude of her gift, but by the timing. It seemed too soon to talk of wills and inheritances again, yet here we were. Elaine sensed my hesitation and squeezed my hand, a gesture that spoke volumes. "This house has been a home to me in every way, and I want it to be yours now. I've seen how you've grown, how you've built your life not on the shaky grounds of wealth, but on the solid foundation of love. That's the real inheritance I want to leave you," she explained, her words tinged with both sadness and resolve. The following months were a blend of precious moments and painful goodbyes. I spent many hours with Elaine, soaking up her wisdom, listening to stories of her younger days, and learning about the deep layers of life that she had navigated with such grace. Her health waned, but her spirit remained as vibrant as ever, a testament to the life she had lived and the impact she had made on those around her. When Elaine finally passed, it was peaceful, a soft departure in the early hours of a dewy morning. The house she left me felt like a living memory, each room echoing with her laughter and wise words. Moving into the house with my family, I was determined to honor her legacy in every way possible. In this house, I found not just the stability and love I had craved as a child, but also the strength to look forward with hope, to raise my children in a home defined by the values Elaine and my father had taught me: integrity, compassion, and unconditional love. This was the true legacy, more valuable than any monetary inheritance, a legacy of heart and home. I thought about Sarah and our last conversation, which had been brief yet profound. Despite the sharpness of her words, I felt no resentment. Instead, there was an understanding that some ties, no matter how deeply rooted in shared history, were not meant to be preserved if they hindered personal growth and peace. This acceptance did not come as a defeat, but as an affirmation of my own values and the priorities I had set for my life and my family. As the afternoon waned into evening, I sat down at my desk to pen a letter to Sarah. It was not born out of an expectation of reconciliation, but as a final piece of closure for both of us. In the letter, I expressed my hope that she would find her own path to peace and contentment, as I had found mine. I wrote of forgiveness, not just for her but for myself, releasing any lingering shadows that might have clung to the corners of our shared memories. I sealed the envelope with a sense of finality, feeling a lightness I hadn't realized I was missing. It was an act of letting go, an offering of peace to the past, and a commitment to the future I was continuously shaping with those I loved. In building this new foundation, I realized that family isn't just about what we inherit from the past, but what we create for the future. The true legacy I was passing on was one of resilience, empathy, and a profound understanding that, above all, love was the greatest inheritance we could offer. In this realization, I found not just peace but a deep, enduring joy.